welcome back to the second episode of our Parenting in Lockdown podcast. I'm Emily, and this episode is a discussion focusing on school and education, the challenges of homeschooling and also adjusting to going back to school. We hope you enjoy it and find it helpful, and look out for our final episode coming soon. So I wondered if you could just share how you've adjusted to schools being shut, children being at home and having to homeschool, and how that whole experience has been.
I have to say, in the beginning, I did struggle with the whole being a teacher to our younger one who's still in primary. The older two are at secondary and a bit more manageable. They manage themselves, though we still have to do some policing. But in the beginning, I felt, obviously, so I work part-time as a teacher and Paul works as a teacher full-time. And it was like, in the beginning, it was like, okay, now I'm going to wear the teacher hat. And it felt, there's a real, those two roles really jarred for me, being a mother and being a teacher. And it felt really awkward. And my son would be like, why do you look like that? Why can't you look happier when you teach me? Or my teacher doesn't sneeze like that.
I think he said, why do you look so bored, Mummy?
Why do you look so bored? Or my teacher doesn't go. The best was my teacher doesn't go on her phone in class. And it was really, and it was just like a bit. But now it just seems to have become a lot more organic, so that we can both dip in and out of work, our own work that we need to do with the children. And there's a kind of flow. I don't know what it's like with the younger ones, because I appreciate you guys are trying to work and balance from home. But I feel like with the boys, there's a real understanding of, okay, well, Daddy will do maths and then I'll do art, and then Mummy's got to finish her work, and then one of us is upstairs, and it flows quite nicely, don't you think?
Until today. Today I missed a school staff meeting at 1 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
So at 2:30 I suddenly realised
staff at your house, or like
a Zoom meeting. And at 2:30 I suddenly realised and checked my phone, and nobody had actually checked up on me anyway. So it was either So I checked it had happened. I sent a message and then no one replied. I thought, hang on a minute, someone's not telling me something. My ego didn't suffer, but someone then messaged eventually.
So I think our schooling has gone the other way around. So I think when Lily, when we first went into lockdown, like, she loves school, she loves writing, loves learning, and so probably the first 6-7 weeks, it's probably only been the last couple actually, but so she was really like, she'd just choose to write in a little notebook as she could, and like the teachers were sending out stuff that was really easy to translate at home for us to work out what we're meant to be doing and all that sort of stuff. But probably in the last month, I think she's just hit that, like, just what's the point? And we've been uploading stuff for the teacher to see and trying to show Lily when she gets a response and all this sort of stuff. But she has definitely lost that momentum. And I think that's partly to do with her, because I guess at reception, so much of it is around still their play and their interaction with their friends, and we just can't offer that in the same way. But also completely recognising that, like, so the way that we work, it's one works in the morning, one works in the afternoon, and so the bit of the day you're not working, you're with the kids, and then ideally the person who's not with them at some point is doing some stuff with Lily. But our work has kind of crept. I think we've allowed it to creep more, haven't we, the last few weeks? So then the problem is, you're like, am I going to make her sit and try and do phonics for 45 minutes? Or am I going to stick her on an iPad and get some of my own work done? I'm going to stick her on an iPad.
I think it's really difficult, because there's been all this discussion about what is the age group that you don't need to mind too much about, which is the crucial age group. The little ones, are they going to be okay or are they not okay? It's just such a minefield to know. But this is what I don't understand. So I've heard about friends of mine now at church whose kids' schools have rung them independently to say, we are opening the school. So it seems like some schools are opening by a kind of case by case basis. So we're all up, everything is up in the air. We don't know when our children are going back. It could be January, as horrific as that sounds, it could be January.
That's why it's quite good, certainly for the younger, certainly with Pierce, the younger one. We've noticed the work that's been sent home has changed over the weeks, that it's a bit more creative now, so that it's not just sitting down and writing and learning and doing some maths and some English and then choose a bit of history or geography or RE, whatever it is. There's a bit more creative ideas. So like a selection of things to choose from, and you just make sure you do 3 or 4 out of these possible 10 tasks. So that's been quite useful. And then the older two, like we said earlier, you know, teenagers, or one just about to be a teenager, join the other one, a bit more, you know, leaving them, they were able to get on. But that was been a good thing actually as well, for them to plan. You know, we try to explain to them they're doing something we never did. And I don't know, the first time I probably had to get organised in my own time in a big way was getting ready for GCSEs, like in managing maybe a revision time, whereas Marcus is in year 8 and he's kind of, even though we've given a bit of structure, he's still the one that's been managing, you know, they get the app with all the homework on it, and he's been managing that, and it's been an issue a couple of times, you know, finding out that a deadline date actually had 8 hours of work to be done for it, rather than just rock up the night before so all those things are quite good learning processes.
I mean, they're learning skills that, you know, that we never had to learn, that the children before them wouldn't have had to learn. They're learning to manage their own schooling, and you know, it's our older two, they're learning to manage their time, their work, upload their work. I mean, this is massive, you know, for them.
Oh yeah, our year 6 daughter's
of course
8 days a week. She's really enjoyed, but it's made it harder for her to do her work at home the day she's at home. I think she's lost the motivation to work at home.
Yeah.
She's suddenly now got school and home again.
So the times are harder the rest when she's expected to work at home, have to share the crane book between her and her.
And the boys' ability to work swings wildly.
Oh yeah,
doesn't it? So a lot of boys lying face down on the rug for half an hour in order to get their first sentence in the morning.
I finished all of his work by 9:08 this morning.
Wow. It's impressive.
And he had technically done it all, but he'd done it all quite poorly. And so you're in that kind of difficult thing that, you have ticked all the boxes, but they're not very well followed.
And what are we going to do the rest of the day when I'm at work?
That's true, you say that. What are we going to do the rest of the day? Because actually it's been easier in the school weeks where there's a routine of they have got some work that they should be harder than when it was half term recently, or the Easter holidays.
Half term was horrific in our house.
Very long.
Don't you think it's harder? It doesn't matter what age your kids are. We found, even with having older ones, it was harder at half term because there was just no structure, and they would just lie on their beds with their phones or just
the week after.
Oh, of course we limited that. We didn't let them do
they only have a Bible app on their phone.
You asked a question just before, Emily, about if we're worried about
schooling, just kind of the impact on education or going back to school.
And I was thinking that I don't really think about it too much, just because all of the students, all of the kids, whatever age, are kind of all in the same boat. But also not to worry how others are getting on. You know, we may be doing really well or really badly, but you probably know where you are. And not to try and compare, I've heard that so and so's doing that, maybe we should do that. Well, we could, but we're okay doing what we're doing, and we could think about that. We don't have to change just because someone else is doing something a different way.
I don't know if any of you are on parent WhatsApp groups for your kids and their year groups. We've got one for Lily's, and I just had to mute it near the start because I think, in generally a very well-meaning way, there was all this like, look at this craft we've made and look at this wonderful activity we've done, and it just made me feel sick every time, because I'm like, I've just got to do 15 minutes of phonics and I'm really happy with that. I have not created anything else that wasn't on the piece of paper that we got told that we had to work to, so I just can't handle it. And it has died off over time, but to begin with I was really like, wow, these people are basically adopting the whole teacher thing all day every day. And we don't have capacity for that. Like, we just didn't have capacity for that. And so kind of being able to say, okay, what's the basics that we'll do, and just leave it at that, and then be like, okay, that's fine. We're going to be happy with that, despite what everyone else may be doing with their children.
I think it's going to have quite a long-term impact overall. Because the curriculum is very tightly packed now. So actually, things they're learning are things they need to learn now, because next year they'll need them. You know, it's that kind of close time frame that they're working in. So actually the impact is not just going to be felt next year, but also in the years to come. Actually, the thing they should have learned in year 4 that they really need to pass their SATs in year 6, they won't have, or the thing that they should have been working on in year 9 or 10 that they'll need for their GCSEs isn't there because they weren't in school for 6 months or a year. And that's going to be really interesting. I think they'll deal with it imminently. So like this year's year 10s presumably will not more favourably when they get to year 11 GCSEs because they do not have the time. But I don't know about year 7 and 8. Will they still benefit from that? Because they have the same
learning. One thing that's crossed our mind is, Lily is starting her schooling career. So she moved from preschool, it's just playing the whole time, and she struggled a little bit in reception because now she had to wear a uniform, and it was carpet time. It wasn't just do what you want to do, because all she would do at preschool would go on the swing the whole day. So there was a bit more structure, and we're a bit concerned about what will be some of that long-term impact of her wanting to engage in education. I'm hoping as she starts her schooling career, it won't have too much of an effect. But where there will be children out there that this could be the sort of make or break. Those going, you guys going from year 6 to year 7, Tom and Sarah. What?
There's usually in this half term there'd be so much transition work going on, and not had any of that, which is a real shame. And they're just missing out on so many kind of social side of the end of year 6, like plays, trips, and saying goodbye to your friends and moving on and moving to a whole new place. So there'll be kids that she just never sees again, and we weren't ready when we went into lockdown. We knew it was a possibility, but we weren't ready to say goodbye back in March for when we weren't. So I think there'll be a lot of kind of unfinished.
It's like rites of passage gone, really, isn't it?
Sorry, I was going to say, a lot of the opportunities that they would have had at school this year, they just won't get back. And I think in a way you do have to grieve that. So our should have had his year 4 camping trip last week, and you won't get to do that again. And I think you have to. It's sad.
Same.
And I think that's where that's the easier thing about having younger kids. So I think actually the impact on Lily will be shorter term. So we're kind of expecting, and part of our reason so we'd initially said she wasn't going to go back into reception this year, but after the screaming of the last 2 weeks, we thought perhaps she just needs to be with people other than us, and so we changed our mind. But part of that is around, actually we feel like she just literally needs to see the school before September, because even pre-lockdown she was already, and we don't really know where it came from, but she was already nervous about year 1, even though it's 6 months off, and she kept saying it's going to be so much work. And I think because she is I think that she knows this, but she is the youngest in the year, so she's a 31st of August baby, and so she is literally like the tiniest. Well, she's not the tiniest, but like mentally she is kind of the youngest there, and so she'd already got into paid. It's going to be so much work, and so we're kind of prepared already for like September. Getting her into year 1 is likely, perhaps it won't be, but we are prepared for that's probably going to be a nightmare, because she hasn't had some of those transition things. But once she's into year 1, I'm not sure there'll be longer term impacts on her because of her age, because of what she isn't really missing out on, because I think that's so much more easy to catch up on than what you guys have got with your kids, and like you say, the bigger transitions and their greater awareness of what's going on. Whereas actually, other than Lily being like, look, there's some poorly people and we need to make sure we stay away from people for a while, she kind of hasn't really asked any more questions than that. And so I think the short-term impact is likely for for the younger ones, but I can see that there could be like longer-term impacts for you guys with the older ones, just in terms of how they process and what that looks like. Other thing I was going to say around schooling that I found particularly frustrating has been this whole thing of having a child in one of the year groups that can go back, but should they or shouldn't they? And because I feel like actually we're being asked to take a decision on the basis of a medical possibility, but we're not doctors, we're not medical, we don't know, like, and so no one's been willing, government wise, to be bold enough to say they absolutely should all go back, and we can confidently tell you why they should all go back. And then we've definitely, the way our school has handled it has been a fairly obvious a set of communications around them really not encouraging children to come back. And then you throw into that mix, we feel like we're just about managing between work and kids, and but you don't want that to be the driving force in like, we're going to send you into school because it's going to make our lives so much easier, which kind of isn't true in some ways because we've still got Daniel at home because his nursery isn't open yet and all this sort of stuff. But that I found probably both frustrating and painful at times, to be asked to make that decision and feel like there's conflicting views coming into that. And again, one of those things, but like you were saying, Paul, earlier, about not comparing to other people, knowing that like almost every other person you talk to has a different opinion on whether it's really safe, or no, they would never let their child go near a school because it's not safe at all. And the next person go, what's the problem? I've got no problem. You're like, I just want someone to tell me, like, it's just hard enough already. I just want you to tell me, and for me to feel confident in that. And I think I found that hard.
You know, I don't think there's a right or a wrong. I think in the beginning I was like, no way, I'm not sending my kids to school. But now I've really changed. I've really changed the way I feel about things. And if an opportunity came, I would. I would. If an opportunity came now, I would. Before, perhaps a few weeks ago, that's what I mean. Things, the goalposts keep moving. Things keep changing. Things that we said we would never do. Now the year 1 and the year 6s are going back. Children aren't going back. You know, things keep changing. So maybe it will be okay. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
What generally are like children's thoughts on going back or feelings about going back?
So Anya has been desperate to go back and is very proud of being back, and the boys are extremely jealous that they're not allowed.
Oh, okay.
So really,
I don't think they wouldn't. They may just not be thinking about it, but they're not worried about going back at all.
No.
And even the experience of being in a classroom of only 10 without all the interesting things that they normally have to look at and hold. She's enjoyed that experience of just being with her friends again, hasn't she?
I think she has. The school were quite good, and like they provided a video beforehand, like a walkthrough in the school, so they could see before they went back what had changed, and it made me quite emotional. She was quite matter of fact. Screens where there's like no soft furnishings, no toys, nothing. So weird. I think with the year 6, it's a lot easier than with the younger years going back, maybe.
Yeah. How long's she been back, or how many days?
This is the second week, 2 days a week.
Okay.
Basically, the kids are going back into school like we all had it. No fun stuff, no soft furnishings.
Lily's been mixed, hasn't she? So actually we only had confirmation because we changed our mind last week about her going in, and you have to give a week's notice. So we only had confirmation on Monday from the head that she could go in. And we'd kind of, because we knew that we were going to contact the head to say about her going in, we had already been told the way the school are doing it is they've divided the class in, there's basically 2 pods of 15.
Okay.
And so we had been told that the first pod of 15, which was a Monday, Tuesday pod, was full. And so she would then go into a Thursday, Friday one. And so that's when my heart broke a little bit, because I knew that all her best friends were in that first pod. So I was like, have we missed the boat? But it's like, okay, it's fine. We'll just prepare. And actually, when we initially, the conversation we were saying to her, so you'll be a Thursday, Friday, and I'm afraid, this person won't be there. And she was like, that's okay, I'll just see how it goes. Like, oh, bless you. But then when the head emailed on Monday, she said actually somebody who had said they were going to go back had made the decision on Monday to not go back. And so we stole the last place on a Monday, Tuesday. So there's been these little video interactions between Lily and her little friend Tia, who's going to be in on a Monday because they just love each other, get to be together. So she's been really excited since we told her. But at bath time tonight, when she got out, she said to me, Mummy, I feel nervous. And I said to her, what are you nervous about? And she said, I'm nervous about walking in, and I'm nervous about the classroom being different. And but I thought, good for her for being able to say that, because I think that is an only natural thing. And she is a very emotional little person, isn't she? Like, she's the highs and lows of Lily is are extreme. But it's one of those things, isn't it? You kind of feel a bit privileged when your kids say that stuff to you, because you're like, she could just be having another tantrum somewhere, but actually the fact she could say that. So So I think she has got a bit of nervousness, but then I think 3 months to a 4-year-old is a lifetime, isn't it? Like it will just feel forever. And so it doesn't surprise me at all. So I'm sure she'll be shy going in next Monday, but I'm expecting that once she's in there, it's her same classroom. Yes, it'll look different. She's excited that we have to give her packed lunch rather than school lunch. Like that is probably what she's most excited about, because she always wants packed lunch. And we're like, we haven't got time to make packed lunch, have a school lunch.
School lunch is free.
Yeah, it's true. So I think she's kind of a bit of a mix of her. She can't wait to see her friends, but it's kind of it's only 4 days away. She's like, just not sure about this, but I think she'll be fine once she's done it the first time.
I think our boys would be happy to go back if we told them they were going back next week. They joke about, they quite like it at home. They get a bit of an extra line in the morning. When it's a break between work, they all sit together and play a game or watch the TV together for a bit. But I think they just all miss, like, I can't remember who said it, they just miss that interaction. And they miss their friend. They want to be back doing that, playing, one of them said they don't mind the way they're doing the teaching. It's all a little bit independent learning, but they would prefer to have a teacher to talk to and telling them stuff. And the other things, going back to normal, doing all they do, their football teams at the weekend and doing all that stuff that loads of kids do whatever other kids do, play an instrument or part of another group, just for our boys, they just want to go back doing their sport with their friends and they'd just be happy back in their school environment, I think.
It's funny because I bet if you told especially secondary school kids a year ago they get 3 months off school,
I know,
they'd have thought it was the best thing in the world. And actually the reality is very different.
Different when you can't go out and can't do any of the things you'd want to do.
I was with a group of year 11 pupils this afternoon celebrating the end of their exams, or that would have been what we would have been doing because they would have all finished this week. They were just reflecting on how, if they'd been told at any point prior to this that they wouldn't have to do their exams, they'd have been quite pleased, but now they feel like they've missed a whole chunk of life because we're working through secondary school so hard to get to this exam, and now the opportunity to actually prove they can do it has been taken away.
Definitely.
You feel like there's a hole there, as well as the kind of leaving school things and the exciting fun bits of it. They actually missed the opportunity to prove they've earned it. So they kind of feel like they're going to get the results without earning those results. But that's where they are.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed it and that you found it helpful. Please remember to rate it and to share it. And you can also find us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram or Twitter @FazeHitchin to see what else we've got going on. And keep an eye out for our next episode coming soon.